But you know what I found out about trauma? For those that are fighting with trauma, that those that are never satisfied with trauma, there's something I call a 1%er. The reason why they call it 1%, because the chances of them doing what they were supposed to do was only 1%. What's the chances you getting a book deal?
Less than 1%.
1.67%, last time I checked in 2023. Getting a Division I scholarship was 1%. Not being in jail right now was a 1% chance. Both of my parents went to jail. Not being an addict, 1%. Getting an author, a book deal, 1%. And everybody listening here, 1%. A 1%er is someone who's doing things in the family DNA that has never been done before. The 1% is not cool with a normal life. A 1% is never satisfied. The 1% was the first one to go to high school, go to college. Why? Here's a nice little theory I have. A 1%er agreed to come here. A 1%er knew they were gonna go through trauma. A 1%er has to go through trauma. Because the only way that a 1%er can have a navigation system on earth for the soul to understand when they're going down the wrong road is with pain. Therefore, a 1% is so sensitive to sugar, too much noise in a room, too much negativity. A 1%er came here to do a job because the universe, evolution, Earth cannot afford their DNA to not go the opposite route. Meaning, if that DNA, if mom was an addict, then you're an addict, your kid's an addict, your DNA falls off Earth. Each DNA is a memory card and basically has a beautiful connection to the ancestors and leaves traits subconsciously within a human being. And it's needed for evolution. Everybody's ancestor came here and did something amazing. We need that trait, we need that skill set. So the 1%er gears up. The creator sits down with the 1% and goes, okay, we need you to go down there, you ready? 1% goes, yes. The creator went to the 1% because the creator knew immediately that the 1% had a pure heart, because the 1% has been here so many times and always came out with a pure heart, never got attached to materialistic things, never feared man's laws. But if the 1% comes here and is not reminded that they're a 1%er, when they grow up, they first go through feeling that they don't fit in. Every 1% has a sensitive nervous system. A nervous system that would detect is kind of like when you're driving on a highway and your car goes off, the car goes, and it will pull you back on. 1%ers can't drink a lot. 1%ers can't depend on man-made things too much.
Sounds like an empath, an intuitive, a spiritual person.
But they can be looked at as they're crazy.
For sure.
I have a quote, crazy people make me feel crazy. You're an empath, Nate? Who do you think you are, bro? I'm a 1%er. You can't take that away from me, and you can't take that away from the listeners. And if we say, Mom, I'm an empath, they're gonna be like, Nate, sit down. Come here, let me talk to you. I told you about saying that in front of family. They can tear you down like that. I'm a 1%er. I make the impossible possible. Is this person is built for greatness. They want to be great. Our drive is a lot more different than a regular person because we have a purpose for the second generation behind us. So our purpose is here to make sure that our kids and the people behind us have a better life, but then our parents in front of us and our loved ones also get to experience a better life before they go. And this is subconscious. Most of my generational trauma clients don't understand this. That's why their drive is different. They're never satisfied. But what happens here is in their 20s, they overcome a lot of pain. Their body has been under so much stress throughout their life that when the body goes through stress, the body puts itself in a situation that it goes through the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal, the HPA axis. And what happens here from this system is stress hormones, glucocorticoids. Norepinephrine triggers this, glucocorticoids go up. These people are numb. Most of the time, these clients don't even know they had hip pain for the last 10 years because they're so used to it that adrenaline makes the body numb. You ever hit your toe on something? You hit your tongue, you're like, ah. Nah, these people are what happens when you hit your toe when you're running full speed to save your life. You ever been doing something, bah, 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 you get hit, or you hit your toe, but you're stressed out and you're going somewhere, and then like later that day, or possibly that night, you sit there and you go, my toe hurt. They didn't become aware right there because the adrenaline was so high and it was driving them to their mission. That's their whole life. So it's hard for them to become honest because they have a high pain tolerance, but they're used to doing everything by themselves. They think they can fix themselves because most of their life they did. They had to overcome the trauma most likely by themselves. Nobody in their family taught them how to start a business or how to go to college because most of the time they're the first ones in their family to do these things. I call these 1%ers. They are 1%ers. Why? I'll tell you right now. Go right now and look at the statistics. Go look at what you've been through and go look at the statistics of the chances of you surviving what you survived. You most likely had a 1% chance of going to college coming from where you come from. College, owning a home, not going to jail, not becoming an addict, not becoming an alcoholic. A lot of you are 1%ers. You had a 1% chance. So the first thing I do with my 1%ers, when it comes down to them getting out of the dark night of their soul, they get stuck here. This is where they get stuck. They can't cheat this. In order to use the mind, this is the consciousness, to be conscious, this is the subconscious, this is the body here. The subconscious is running 90% of our programming and running 90% of things. When you eat your food, you don't have to tell yourself to digest the food digests subconsciously. When you breathe, that's subconscious. Guess what? Your habits are subconscious. Your muscular system, the kinetic chain, that's all subconscious. So when you start getting health problems that are interfering with the subconscious, consciously, you can't just overthink these problems. If you actually, you make time to meditate and use the placebo effect, then you can possibly get into the subconscious and change things around. But why can't 1%ers do that? Most of my 1%ers don't have time. No time. Why? Because the 1%ers don't know how to say no. They say yes to everything until I make them aware of that. Why they don't say no? They feel guilty. 1%ers feel guilty when they say no. I can't say no to my dad. He asks me for money and then I have to take him to the doctor. I can't say no. Why can't you say no? Because when you're a 1%er, you're unrelatable. When you're a 1%er, it's hard to feel like you can trust people. And the only people you have is the people coming after you and the people that were before you. So when you say no to them, you think saying no to them is showing them that you don't love them. And most of the time, the more that they're used to this, not just parents, family, friends, cousins, the more that they're used to that, they're gonna get upset when you first say no. And this can happen with friends too. I call this the 55% relationship. You, my friend, are going to learn, I make my 1%ers aware of this, that most of their friends and family, we call this tribe, are only there because 55% of effort or more is coming from you. This relationship, how many of you have relationships that if you pull back and give 50% and expect 50% back and you make this person give you your 50% back, how many of them now don't wanna be friends with you or don't wanna talk to you or get mad at you or give you a nasty response? What happens here is if this person says no, they fear that they're gonna be in isolation. I don't wanna be in isolation, Nate. They're gonna be isolated. And I say, no, 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 no. Awareness, honesty, action. You have to, I gotta make them aware. But why? Why, Nate? Why do I have to be isolated? You have this fear because you don't know. Meaning, you don't know because you may need a skill set. You need to learn. And to be able to do both of these, you need time, no distractions. In order for you to feel confident for this, we need you to be clear on your purpose. What is your purpose? You can never say no if you do not have a purpose. When I make my clients aware of their fear, is stopping them from saying no, and they think that being alone is bad, but we go through a track record of patterns of showing them, hey, give me the last time you had to be alone. And what did you do? Well, when I went to school to get my license in massage therapy, or when I became a licensed doctor, when I went to medical school, when I became a dentist, when I had to go to college or get my master's, oh, you need to be alone. You need alone time because you need to build that skill. You need to learn. You needed time. Those that fear of being alone don't know thyself. You don't know yourself. Those that fear are not looking at their dark side. Oof. Why are people so doubtful on their purpose? Fear, but also the subconscious mind. We have to see where the fear came from. And generational 1%ers, 1%er, baby. A 1%er usually can't go and tell family and friends about their dream or their purpose because nobody has ever done it and they're looked at like they're crazy. Hey dad, I got a dream one day, man, that, I'm gonna be doing big things. Pa, I believe in you. So I'm gonna get tattoos, dad. I really want tattoos. Pa, you can't get tattoos. Why, Dad? Nobody's gonna hire you. I was 17 years old. I said, Dad, I'ma hire me. Pa, look, I get it. But if you have to work for Dad, I'ma work for me. Dad's response came from fear because he didn't want me to be him or the people in our neighborhood of being on the streets making money illegally. My dad's fear was projected on me subconsciously because he thought the old way of the world. He thought it's still 1980s and 1990s. Because my dad hasn't been in the field a long time. He stood what he knew for a long time. And since he stood with the things he knew and he didn't progress, he projected fear on me. Subconsciously, I had a negative subconscious mind towards my purpose. In my heart, my nice little heart here, I knew, my heart was telling me, that's what's gonna happen. I call it the battle between the heart and the mind. So the mind is associated with the ego and programming. Programming from your childhood, your belief systems. But the heart, y'all like my drawing here? The heart is associated with the soul. The soul communicates through the bloodstream, blood gets pumped into the heart. And then the metal detector of telling you when you're not choosing your heart is your gut. You'll get a gut feeling. Keep ignoring this and keep being driven from this. Each of these are needed though, when you go through your journey. The reason why each of them are needed is because if you had no ego and you didn't, and the mind or programming, you're part of the collective unconscious all the way. The ego keeps you earthbound. The ego makes me Nate and makes you you. When we're done here, we all go, then we become 100% part of the universe and collective unconscious. There's no more ego, just soul. The ego is like the GPS on earth. It's our GPS, right? But the soul is the driver. And the gut is the alarm system in the car when you're about to get off the road. You ever drive a car and go, this is telling you, ho, you're not listening at all now. This alerts the driver, hey, something could be wrong with the GPS, but it's telling me go this way. I know, but I'm telling you, the detectors are telling me this is the wrong way. So the ego is needed, but the ego gets programmed. And if we get too egotistic, then we can lose ourselves. If we get too spiritual, we immediately can lose ourselves. When a person's too much in their ego, they're too locked into the root chakra or zone 1. This is when we're out of balance. Someone who's way too much into thinking that manifesting and making the money you want is all here and they don't have to take any action at all. These people are too much in the 7th chakra or zone 7, and they put themselves in a position where they become delusional. This is where the spirit can get stuck, all right? Let me make that clear. The soul's in the middle, in my opinion. And this is all, I'm telling you right now, if this makes sense to you, amazing. If you have a different opinion, please have a different opinion. I have no science research to back this up. This is my experience. And then we have the heart. The heart is in the middle. If a person is too stuck in the 7th, they become someone who loses responsibilities on earth. I found that the number one problem here is money. I find the people here, the number one problem for people with the ego here happens to be change. These people do not want to change. What makes this problem even worse? Fear. And that fear, what they're unaware of, gets in the way from being able to have energy, emotions that then reconnect all of this to flow in one. So the spirit, they lose connection and full drive to their ego. The person that loses ego have a disconnection with the spirit. So here's what I mean. The more that a person's in change or are scared of change, the more they feel alone and they lose faith. And anytime you don't work with faith, you work with fear. And this is what a lot of 1%ers are stuck. A person that is stuck in the spiritual that doesn't get here, the first thing they do is they lose the ability to take personal responsibility. They start losing their jobs, start having money problems, and then they believe in promises. I had to retrain a lot of clients when I was in LA, or even today, I had to train a lot of clients for the simple fact that a lot of people will come to me and think that they can make a lot of their dreams come true from somebody promised them for 30,000 or 50,000. If they sit down and listen to frequency music and they think about their dream, it will come true. And I will look at them and I say, did it work? They say, no. I said, okay, so here's what we have to do. No. They said I have to do it for 4 more months. And I'll say, okay, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is delusional. There's a beauty to that, but that's delusional. You have to put the work in now. You have to get back to the root chakra. You have to get back to mastering safety and security. Nobody's gonna come save you. You can find people that go straight from the root or the zone 1 and they try to escape to the 7th zone because they're trying to avoid from doing the work. That's what I have found. So I like to call, when I get a client like that, I call the theme of their program, getting back to your roots. I have to remind these people how to get back to having to take care of themselves, getting back to their roots of their DNA and where they're from, because usually when they get too much there, they disassociate themselves with their family. I have to get this person back and finding the root causes to their problems, why they have money problems, why they're getting fired, why they're not getting clients, etc. So the mind versus the heart is the biggest battle we all face. The more that we don't listen and trust the heart to be able to take action for us or assist us, the more we become egotistic. Or the more that we listen to the heart too much and we don't use the ego, then we get into a point of now we get our feelings hurt all the time, we get taken advantage of, because the ego can save you from that if you have a nice balance between the two. Carl Jung talks about everybody has a dark side. No human can really thrive or make it out of the dark night of the soul until they accept their dark side. And with that being said, we have two sides to us. There's a side of us that is loving, but there's a side of us that's something driven us from the ego that either one that we're blocking, maybe because you got your heart broken, you got a divorce, or someone broke your heart, or maybe someone traumatized you and you don't trust people. You have to figure out why. You have to get back to that root cause. But being alone is very needed for a 1%er. A 1%er, the only thing that's really holding a 1%er back is going to be their health, but they're unaware that most of their health problems are actually coming from subconscious choices. Overeating and emotional eating come from subconsciously how you dealt with stress when you were growing up. So if I tell a client, you can't overeat here, if you want to be great, you can't overeat, stop doing that, that's not going to work. In reality, what I really have to do with this individual is I have to figure out what patterns, what subconsciously is causing this. All right, like I just mentioned, it's very important to find the root causes to your problems. When you're a 1%er and you're overcoming generational trauma and poverty, it's very important to not get caught up in the symptoms that you go through, especially from health. Make sure that you're eating enough protein. Make sure you're getting enough fiber. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you move your body. Make sure you allow yourself to rest. Don't feel guilty about resting. Don't overthink about resting. Let yourself rest. And if you want to learn more about that and you want to get deeper with the 1%er, healing your gut, fixing your back pain, getting a blueprint on how to build your dream and how to protect your energy, my book, The You Never Knew, is now available for pre-sale. You can get a signed copy if you order early. This book is the guide. It's the blueprint to make sure that you're not only fully healing your mind, body, emotions, but you're able to stay consistent. And it's realistic. It's now available for pre-order. You can click the link down below. If you like this clip that I just made, the clip that you just watched, you can watch the full YouTube live. You can watch the whole YouTube live right here.